Hey everybody, welcome back to another Chippa in the third person. It's been a little bit. I'm recording this actually on Monday evening, the 28th of June. I'm recording this prior to the embargo being lifted, so I can release it once the embargo is lifted for Black Widow, which I actually had the honor of being invited to a pre-screening of this evening. So thanks again to my brother Movie Bob for making that happen. It's the first press screening I've got a chance to go to since prior to COVID, and only about the third movie I've seen in a movie theater since we've all started going back outside. So awesome, right? Anyway, so yeah, with that, try not to be too spoilery, but spoilers ahead, as it were. Black Widow. So really, really, really well done. The way that I would like to review Black Widow, I think the best word to use to discuss Black Widow is confidence. The film is made with confidence. The film is not in a rush to get anywhere. It knows what it's good at. It knows what's come before. It knows what it's a prequel for, and it uses that to its advantage to kind of allow the characters to take a breath a little bit. It starts off with Natasha and her sister as little kids, and shows, kind of what their family, or lack thereof, family life was like in Ohio, with David Harbour and Rachel Weisz as parents. Did I mention the cast for this thing is fucking stacked and incredible? And sets us off to see what's going on there. The father, David Harbour there, they were a sleeper cell of Russian spies. He was the Russian Captain America, as it were. And what do they call him at one point instead of his actual name? The Crimson Justice or something like that. It was pretty funny. But anyway, he has stolen something, burned a place down to steal information that was part of their 3-year tour in the United States, and now they're beating feet to get to Cuba. The mother is injured in the turmoil. They're getting chased by S.H.I.E.L.D., as it were, and then they show that the kids were taken hostage. The movie leaves up in the air as to whether or not the parents sold them into it or if they were just taken, but we'll get to that. And it's just a really, really cool chain of events, and an opening credits sequence with a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit that is haunting. This opening credits sequence is so hauntingly well done, I'm surprised it's not at the beginning of a Zack Snyder movie, and I mean that. His use of the times they are a-changin' in the Watchmen, his use of when the man comes around for the opening of Dawn of the Dead. This is a very impactful. This opening credit sequence is letting you know that Marvel's not fucking around with this one. They don't say it, but the allegory of what's going on with the girls here is not just for the girls getting taken and sent around like human trafficking slaves to turn into super soldiers. They're saying very, very wholeheartedly exactly what this is an allegory for, and it is terrifying, and they do not shy away from that in the opening credits sequence. Then we come to not present day, but 21 years later, and she's on the run. Right, the Sokovia thing has gone down. She's on the run. This is what was going on before Infinity War and Endgame. Right, this is the what went down after the Avengers: Age of Ultron. Right, and she's going around and going into hiding. She goes up to Norway. It's kind of running from S.H.I.E.L.D., running from everybody else, and catches back up when going into hiding with her sister in a safe house. And the sister we have seen just prior to this, played by Florence Pugh, who unbelievable casting when you consider that they scooped her up for these movies. What was this movie in the bag 3 years ago? So they scooped her up for these movies. I'm assuming Midsommar must have already been made, but and maybe Little Women, but this woman, she she's going to be a powerhouse, already is, right? There's going to be awards in her future. I'd see entire action franchises with her. She holds her own. She's wonderful. One of the best casting choices in this movie. Another thing this film does really well that's really centered on her amazingly, even though from the trailers it would lead you to believe there's a super serious, especially with the Russian accent, the seriousness of it all. She has great one-liners. There's a line, and again, I said spoiler alert, Ed, there's a line, and I won't tell you what's going on, where she looks at an oncoming awful situation. This would be a cool way to die. And it's just such a good line, and it's said with such just confidence and immediacy, and it's just, the character on her is just so well developed and really freaking well done, and I loved it. David Harbour, once we catch up with him, so she's hasn't met up with her sister yet. Like I said, the sister, finds out that she's being utilized. She's one of these Black Widows, and she's being utilized to go and kill off some people. And one of the people she's trying to kill hits her with this spray in the face, and it makes her forget that she was evil and she's no longer under control, and hence sets off the plot of the movie. Without revealing too much more, Scarlett Johansson meets back up with her fake parents, David Harbour and Rachel Weisz, and through Florence Pugh, who was her sister, and they get together. The mother is still under control, and basically sells them up the river. They're looking for the Red Room. Remember that thing from the other Marvel movies? I won't reveal what or where the Red Room is, but Natasha supposedly killed the gentleman that did this to her and all of the other Black Widows, and let's just say he may or may not be an existing thing. There's also Taskmaster running around. I'll save the reveal in the theater for you to find out what's going on with Taskmaster, but it's wonderful. It's really well done, and it's just cool shit. But I will say that this film, particularly in the middle, whoever they hired to write this should be writing characters for them on the future. It walks that fine line that James Gunn was able to walk with the Guardians of the Galaxy films, where you get real emotion out of these characters. There's, we know what's going to happen to Natasha. If you're seeing this movie, you know what fate befalls Black Widow after the events of this film, right? And they're able to give you so much like actual want and need between her and her sister's character to have a family unit, and the real emotion for them to work through what was taken from them by this Black Widow program, and all this other stuff. And it really delves into some deep, dark things, and also isn't afraid to be violent. I mean, again, it's a PG-13. It's, we're not like, this isn't Black Mask and Birds of Prey cutting people's faces off, but it approaches that thematically. The way by which people win in this film is to go through some, die-hard level, get the shit beat out of you kind of stuff. That really isn't reserved for these Marvel movies. At least the, some of the bigger, more special effects heavy ones. This does have a couple of big showpiece action sequences in it, but they feel a lot more grounded. They feel a lot more, like the stakes are higher. And I know that's weird to say. You're seeing the trailers, you're seeing all the whiz bang and stuff fly around, but I really mean it. This movie ties into a raw emotion that I feel we didn't really get out of Black Widow until, Infinity War and Endgame, particularly with her final bow there. And this movie really is able to hit on some of those more deep, dark, heavier themes that, I gotta say, it's ballsy for for Marvel under Disney to be hitting some of the levels that this movie does, particularly with just on-screen ass-kickery. The blows hit hard, the emotion runs deep. Again, it's a prequel. We know where it's going. It's hard to, do the whole, and why did we not know any of this was going on? They have, their quick explanations and things for what's going on. But it really is just a showcase for surprisingly great writing, and a cast. Remember, how stacked. There's a sequence in this movie where David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, Florence Pugh, and Scarlett Johansson are just sitting around acting. And yeah, they're in goofy, silly superhero costumes, at least the majority of them are, but they're all just showing how damn good they are. And the filmmaking and the crew and the production company is just flexing their confidence and this isn't like a confidence in that it's safe. Like, I'll admit, there are some Marvel movies that feel safe. I love them all, but there are some that feel safe. This one is not safe. It's violent, it's dark, it's gritty. The backstory of characters and their motivations is intense. And it's not intense in like a Abramsy mystery boxy kind of a way where it's not revealed what was going down. They've said this in the other Marvel movies, particularly I think it was in Age of Ultron, it was a reveal, or later, these Black Widows are, they get hysterectomies, right? They get all of their, it's terrible, right? What goes down. And this movie lays into that heavy on these girls have been abused. These girls have had everything taken from them. And it makes the villains even grosser. It makes the stakes even higher. And for that, I'd say, is it like on the level of ridiculousness that, some of these films are? No. Is it more grounded than a lot of these Marvel movies have been recently? Absolutely. I'd say this is an 8.5 out of 10 for me. It was an absolute joy to get back into a cinema and watch it. The crowd of, press screen wasn't a huge crowd, but everyone seemed to really be digging it. It's imperfect, like the majority of the Marvel films are, but you'll spend so much time just loving what you're seeing on screen and seeing these wonderful actors and actresses get to kick ass. I would say, another film from last year that I mentioned, Birds of Prey. It's a DC film, but it has the same energy. It has the same, it would make a great double feature. Like I said, I don't think, this would be good for your young teen kids. Birds of Prey, is a little bit hyper violent. But again, I think that, as far as just showing that, women can be badasses leading a superhero film, you can't find much better than Black Widow. Marvel has another home run. I hope this movie makes a killing, and I hope we get to see surviving characters, who I won't say who does and who doesn't, but I'd love to see characters from this film show up again, because they're wonderful. And with that, Chippa in the third person, so I was a little clunky, but I wanted to get my thoughts down. So if you're seeing this, the embargo for Black Widow is dropped. Thanks again to Bob for inviting me out to check it out. All right, bye.